Abraham Lincoln famously said, "Give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, and I'll spend the first four sharpening the axe." So after creating 23 online courses that generated over $23 million, I believe that the fastest way to create a course that people actually want to buy is to be like Abraham Lincoln and spend 2/3 of your time nailing the structure of your course and your marketing message. And once you have these two things in place, you can quickly and easily create your course. But if you get this wrong, you could either find yourself creating something that nobody wants to buy or something people buy but they don't complete, which means you're going to struggle to make more money and more impact. My name is Marisa Murgatroyd, and I've helped 10,000 people launch businesses and courses that stand out and get bought even in a crowded market, even in a crowded niche or a crowded industry. But I did not start there. My first course, it sold zip, zero, zilch. So I did what any self-respecting entrepreneur would do. I created another course. But this one, it sold better, but it had another problem. And over time, I started to realize that people were buying the course, but somewhere along the way, they just poof, disappear, never to be seen again. And I wasn't selling courses just to make money. I was selling courses to make a difference in people's lives, and that started to really bother me. So I approached a friend of mine, a colleague, who also created courses and was doing really, really well. And I said, "Are you noticing people buying your courses but not finishing them?" And she said something to me that changed my life forever. She said, "Marisa, maybe some people just aren't meant to succeed." And that felt like a punch in the gut. Because I believe that everyone, yes, you, everyone is meant to succeed, given the right training, the right tools, the right support. And I wasn't okay with creating courses that people would buy but not ultimately consume and succeed with. And I realized that so many of the courses that I had been taking weren't setting me up to success. And the way that everyone was teaching people how to create courses weren't really aligned with how we as adults like to learn, what gets us hooked, what gets us into action. So I wanted to take time to make this video and really walk you through how to structure 4 of the main elements in any online course: your modules, your trainings, your group coaching calls if you've got a live component of your course, and other resources that you include in your course to support your students. And how to do this in a way that works with rather than against the way we're hardwired to actually want to learn. So let's start with your modules. And modules are like the big buckets or subtopic areas inside your course. So for example, my signature product, the Experience Product Masterclass, is all about helping people design, market, and profit from online courses. So I've got 5 main modules and a pre-module. The pre-module is all about coming up with your profitable product idea before you even get started. And the first module is your light bulb moment, and it's all about understanding what type of online course you want to create, setting your goals, setting your market plan, understanding when you're going to launch it. And then the next module is all about nailing your marketing message in your offer, or what it is that you're really selling that people are going to beat down your door to buy. And then after that, we focus on creating your course in a way that get people super excited to want to go through it and consume everything and get the result that you promised when you sold your course. And then we go into marketing, everything you need to know to launch your course. And then ultimately, we focus on delivery and how to create that amazing experience that begins as soon as someone buys and goes all the way through the end of the journey. So those are the 5, ultimately 6 modules in my program. And all of the modules are designed to get someone to the outcome that I promise, which is designing, launching, and profiting from an online course in 12 weeks or less. So you can think about your modules as the unique path from what I call mission, which is the promise of your course, all the way through to mission accomplished, which is realizing the outcome and succeeding in your course. So I like to think of this like a bird's eye view. So if you were a bird looking over the path from beginning to end, what would that journey be? What are the main points along the way? And those are your modules or your buckets. And when you define those big picture buckets, it's a lot easier to go in and figure out what trainings do you need inside of each of those buckets. All right, and there's usually 3 to 6 modules in any given course. But here's the twist. Most people create modules in a linear fashion, meaning you do the first thing first, and then the second thing, and then the third thing. But the problem with creating modules in a linear fashion is you often drop people into the deep end of the pool, into the most boring or difficult stuff to begin with. Let me give you an example. I had a student who helped musicians get their music listed on major TV shows. And the very first thing he was having his students do was essentially fill out all of the paperwork on these music studio websites so they could qualify for submitting their music. Now, talk about boring. Way to drop all these creatives into the most boring stuff ever. So what happened is as soon as people bought, they would just fall out because this was the most boring step. So instead of thinking about your modules in a linear way, of course it makes sense to do the paperwork to be eligible to submit your music first, but it's not a motivational structure. So when you think about your modules in a motivational fashion, you think about, well, what's going to be the module that's going to get them into action fast? A module where it's simple, it's easy, it reinforces the big picture promise or vision of what they're doing through the course. So I helped him redesign his course. So instead of starting with the paperwork, he started with helping people figure out a vision for where they wanted their music to be featured. So they came up with their Dream 100 list, or the 100 TV shows where if they got their music placed on even one of those shows, this whole course would be a massive win for them. So that allowed them to start with something that was super duper motivating. And I coached my student on really creating this module so that they couldn't lose. So he even created the resources that really helped them see, well, these are all the different TV shows that accept submissions by an amateur musician. And once they have that, it really was just a choose your own adventure. It was super easy for them to get going and start to see the possibility of all the work. Now, once they've got in their mind's eye what these 100 shows are, they're a lot more motivated to do the next step, which is the paperwork that they need to be qualified and eligible to submit their music on those particular shows. You see what I'm saying? So, for example, what I just told you about our Experience Product Masterclass, I said there's a pre-module on landing your profitable product idea. But the idea is often the most difficult thing for people. So I actually have them start on module 1 first, your light bulb moment, which is making very, very simple choices. Things like, how much do you want to earn through your product? What type of online course do you want to create? How many students do you want? When do you want to launch it? When do you want to deliver it? All these choices that you do need to make, but that are so much simpler to make. And they also are creating a picture in my students' mind's eye of what it is that they're going to do. So then it's more motivating to go through and actually work on their product idea. You getting me? You see how this could work? It makes things a lot simpler. All right. So the first step in creating a course is to create those 3 to 6 modules or big picture buckets or steps that are really the milestones on the path from mission to mission accomplished. And when you think about ordering the milestones or the steps, you want to order them in a motivational fashion rather than a linear fashion. At the very first, think about that first module as the module that gets them into action, the module that reinforces the vision, the module that allows them to see where it is that they're going. And then you can go more difficult from there and ramp them up through kind of smaller, simpler actions and wins to larger actions and larger wins. And that's how you get them going. And of course, you want to also work on the marketing message for each of those modules to really have a sexy name for the module and a description that allows people to see not just what they're going to do, but what doing that's going to allow them to achieve in their lives. What's it going to allow them to do, be, feel, have, overcome, or achieve? You really want to create that picture because people don't buy information. They buy transformation. And that's a very big difference. And one of the biggest mistakes people make with their courses is trying to sell the information rather than the transformation, or even after people buy, trying to deliver the information rather than delivering the transformation. And you do that by getting people into action. And that brings us to the next aspect of an online course that you really want to get the structure right. And that is your individual trainings. Once you have those big picture modules, you want to start outlining what are all the different individual trainings within each module. And I've had modules with, say, 5 trainings in it, and I've had modules that might have 15 trainings in it. So whatever that big picture step is, for example, Our second module is all about nailing your offer, or what people are actually going to buy. It's got about 12 different videos in it. So once you've got those big picture steps or buckets, you want to list out what are all those main sub steps underneath each module. And the way that I like to think about individual trainings is each training focuses on just one thing. Not just one topic, but one specific action. So when I'm designing a training, I'm thinking about what is someone going to do in this individual training. Because remember, it's not about delivering information. It's about getting people into action and really delivering transformation. So I really focus on that. What is the thing that they're going to do or complete? And how does that get them one step closer to the overall goal of the course and also that topic of the individual module? So for example, when it comes to that nailing your offer module, module 2 in our Experience Product Masterclass, I help people focus on the promise of their product or what they're going to deliver and why that matters. I help people come up with an origin story to sell the product or how they came up with that idea. I help people build credibility and show why they're the person to deliver this product. I help them create their product name. I help them create the logo and visual branding for the course so it can stand out when you build your sales pages and all those other assets. I also help them come up with a guarantee to really deliver on the promise of their program, to really make people feel safe and comfortable to buy. And that's super important in today's market where people have tried things that haven't worked before and they're a little bit skeptical. And then I help people understand, how do you create urgency to take action now? What are those things that you can say or to offer to really get someone from the sidelines of thinking about it to actually into the game and saying, I'm doing this, I'm going to make it happen, I'm going to sign up for your program today. And then I help people craft bonuses, which are all these supplemental reasons to buy right now as well. So as you can see, I started to brainstorm what are all the different things that they need to make a really compelling offer to get the most number of people who are interested in their topic, who want that transformation to say yes. So once you've got those buckets in place, you know what they are, you know what your modules are, you want to brainstorm the 5 to 15 steps to really realize the promise of each individual module. And once you know what those topics are, then you're going to start to write or design or to record those individual trainings. And you just focus on one training at a time, okay? So let me talk about how to structure an individual training once you understand what trainings it is that you want to create. So just like with the program as a whole, you want to look at the what and the why. With every individual training, you want to have a clear what and why. What this allows someone to do and why it matters. And you want to lead with that what and that why, because that's what's going to allow someone to give you their 5 minutes or 20 minutes or 50 minutes of time to go through that actual training. And I recommend that all trainings are 50 minutes or less, because that is documented as the amount of time that most adults can really spend before they start to get distracted and wander. Now, you don't have to make your trainings 50 minutes. That's the outer edge of what I'd recommend. Some trainings could be as short as 30 seconds or 2 minutes or 5 minutes. Some might be 12 minutes or 15 or 20. You really want the training to be no longer than it needs to be to deliver on the promise, the what and that why of that particular training. So for example, if I'm teaching people how to create a guarantee around their course, I just need as long as it takes for them to understand what are the different types of guarantees they have, whether to know whether to include one or not to include one, and how to craft that guarantee, and then to give them the assignment, which is actually choosing what kind of guarantee they want to offer if they want to offer one, and then writing the terms and conditions of that guarantee. So like I said, with an individual training, you want to lead with the what and the why, and then you go into the how of how they can actually get that what and realize that why. But the how is really where a lot of the magic could happen, where you win people's hearts and minds or you lose them. So many people just teach to the head of all the information and it gets so boring. But you want to, where possible, try to create an emotional experience for people. Something that might have pattern interrupts, where you're using the visuals like slides and Giphies and graphics and videos within your training to really create this multi-dimensional learning experience. That said, just talking and slides and graphics is not enough. Ideally, you want to create some kind of demonstration where you give an example. You ground the theory, you ground the big picture ideas in some real life examples so people can really see exactly how they works, not just in terms of theory, but in terms of practice. Because adults really need to see how a particular idea or lesson really translates to their lives, how they can do something. They're not as interested in theoretical learning. They really want to understand, okay, I get it. Now, how do I use this? How do I apply this? So you'll notice with everything that I'm sharing with you in this video, I'm sharing an example of how I've done it and how you can apply this to your online courses. Because here's the thing, the standard knowledge retention rates of just talking and slides and graphics, it's only 20%. And things like a demonstration can boost this up to 30%. But it's really the practice by doing, which boosts something from 30% to 75%. So every single training that I offer is designed around essential action, a homework assignment where my students take that idea, that training, that lesson, and they translate it into action, something related to creating their own courses, launching their own courses, profiting from their own courses. And by getting someone into immediate action around the ideas that I just gave them, I'm able to take them from, say, 20% retention or 30% retention to 75% retention. And that is a massive difference. So you want to wrap every single training around an action and ideally a win. It's something that they're going to be able to do and feel like they're winning. Now, for bonus points, if you're able to break your training into steps or a framework, so instead of just talking about guarantees, for example, I talk about the 3 different kinds of guarantees, right? A satisfaction guarantee, a no questions asked money back guarantee, and a scary results-based guarantee. And I let them know when to use each one and what's appropriate for them. So where possible, you want to create a framework around your training so it's very clear what the options are, what the steps are to complete it, rather than just talking and sharing information. That's going to ground the knowledge and ground the expertise to make it a little bit more actionable. So remember, you want to end with that win. You want to end with that homework assignment, that next step to get people into immediate action around what it is that you're training. And then before you end your video, ideally you want to tease the next step, the next training. Kind of like a cliffhanger in TV shows or on Netflix, you want to tease the next thing because your goal as a course creator is to not just sell your course, but to keep someone moving through your course, training by training by training, module by module by module, until they realize that outcome, that mission accomplished state. Because when they win, you win, and they're going to reward you by buying from you again, by referring people to you, and your business is going to grow because of their testimonials, their case studies, their kind of raving fan referrals, all right? And that's what you want. I really believe that customer success is the new marketing. So I'm going to go into the next 2 things, the group coaching and the resources, but I wanted to say that there's a lot to designing individual trainings and modules that have both a powerful marketing message and are structured for student success. And I've got a much deeper model around this that I'd love to share with you, and I've put it into a free course creation masterclass. So if you want to go even deeper into how to design those individual trainings in a way that really draw people in, keep them engaged, and really have them move forward action by action by action all the way until the end of your course, go to joinepm.com/masterclass. That's joinepm.com/masterclass. And you get to watch my free training. It's set up as an on-demand masterclass. So you can watch it, you can get all those lessons. It's completely free. And just go deeper into this framework and this approach that I've developed for creating online courses that get people kind of addicted to the action that you want them to take. All right? So now that you've got your modules, you understand how to structure those as well as individual trainings, let's talk about group coaching calls or practice calls or discussion calls, whatever it happens to be. A lot of courses have a pre-recorded component and then some kind of live component. Whether you do a course where people can enter at any time, and then you just say offer weekly group coaching, for example. So no matter when people join, they might have access to 4 weeks or 8 weeks or 12 weeks of group coaching. Or you have a course that begins and ends at a certain time where a group of students go through it together, and you offer that, 2, 3, 4 times per year. And maybe it's a 2-month course or 3-month course, whatever it happens to be. It's super common to offer live trainings. So while you can create incredible pre-recorded courses and you can get people into action, a lot of times they need those touch points, that feedback, to really be able to apply something and get the best results possible. So it's super common not just to do a pre-recorded online course and information product, but to do something that's more of a group coaching and training program. So what's common is if you're doing some kind of weekly group coaching calls, that you do 60-minute calls or you do 90-minute calls, and you essentially answer questions about whatever topics are happening in the course at the time. And the trick for these particular group coaching call sessions is that you want to answer the questions in a way that's relevant to everybody else in the line. So you're helping this individual student, but everybody else is getting what I call side door coaching. Let me explain what I mean by that. A lot of times when you're listening to someone else be coached, your defenses are down. Versus when you're coached, sometimes, it can bring up those defenses of sort of arguing or resisting or whatever it happens to be, or getting precious about your ideas. But when you're listening to somebody else be coached, it's oftentimes really obvious where they're getting in their own way and why they're stuck. And so what can really be helpful in the side door coaching is if you listening to somebody else, you realize they have the same issue that you're having, but then you end up solving your issue by hearing them get coached. So when you're in these group coaching calls, or whether they're practice calls or discussion calls, you want to always be able to at least end each individual coaching session within the longer call by pulling out the commonalities or the lessons that are relevant to everybody else. You also want to answer questions in a way that speak to the objections that may come up as people go through the process. I call this normalizing challenges. And a lot of people want to share the benefits of how awesome, say, their course is, or how they can solve all the problems. But the truth is that realizing big goals, achieving big outcomes is difficult. And there are going to be moments when people think they can't do it. So you want to use those group coaching calls to not just help people apply what they're learning to their individual situation, but help them overcome the mental blocks and create the mindset they need to succeed with your particular course. So that's super duper important, that you not just teach and train, but you give people the context to get feedback on what it is that they're doing and help them course correct and help them face the sort of mindset issues and the mental and emotional challenges that come up when you're trying to do something new that's unfamiliar, that might be challenging or outside of your comfort zone. So that's the third element you really want to focus on structuring to support your students in succeeding, because when they succeed, they will reward you with the more business and referring friends. Now, the last thing you want to consider is other resources. For example, do people need tools to realize the promise of your course, whether it's software tools or physical tools, for example, like if you are helping them knit, they might need knitting needles and yarn. Do they need any kind of templates or mind maps or whatever it happens to be? What are those different resources that they need to succeed in your program? And you want to think that through, because you want to make your program as self-contained as possible and help people, if you can't deliver all the tools yourself, if they need to go buy them, at least understand where to go buy things and exactly which things to buy. And that's going to help lower the barrier to entry and remove any potential friction points that's going to slow your student down before they realize the outcome of your program, of your course. Because your job as a course creator is to remove as many obstacles as possible for your students, to set them up for success, to really anticipate what are the challenges that are going to come up and then address them either through group coaching calls or the resources you provide to help them ease through those challenges as quickly and easily as possible. All right, so that's what I've got for you today in terms of how to structure your modules, your individual trainings, any additional group coaching calls, practice calls, discussion calls you want to include if you want to do a live component, and other resources that you want to offer to support your students. And if you want more training to go in depth on exactly how to deliver your course, to get them kind of addicted to what you do, go to joinepm.com/masterclass to watch my free masterclass on course creation. I've also got a couple more things here on YouTube. I've got some videos on how to protect your online course from being copied and how to create an online course with just the right amount of content. So keep browsing, keep going deeper, and whatever you do, now is the perfect time to create your online course. I mean, this is nearing $1 billion a year industry. And it's my goal that you're able to not just profit from your expertise and your knowledge, but to make a difference in people's lives and ultimately in the world. Because when people know better, they do better. That's a famous quote by Maya Angelou. And when you have expertise, when you have knowledge, when you've got a secret sauce way to do something specific, I believe you've got a responsibility to get that out to the world. And it's amazing what can happen when you actually do. I never imagined when I created my first course that I would ultimately go on to create 23 courses and help over 10,000 people around the world in building their business and launching their very own courses. So just go out, do this, keep watching these YouTube videos, keep going deeper, but whatever you do, make this happen. Now go out there and live your message.